All right, so we're going to go ahead and look at how the origins of life on Earth. So we're going to describe the scientific evidence that provides support for models of how life or origins of life on Earth came to be. So there's some geological evidence, and what has happened is 4.6 billion years ago, the Earth formed. And that's all based on rocks and looking at rocks. And the earliest fossils have been 3.5 billion years ago. And what scientists can do is they can figure out how old a fossil is, and they can also figure out how old they are relative to one another. So I'm just going to show you this example of, like, in this area, area 1, they put these, they found these fossils in order in these different layers. And obviously the ones that are at the bottom are the oldest. So D is older than C, and then A, and then B. So I can kind of put them in order like that. And then if you look at area 2, I could see that that E is even more below that. Area 3 doesn't really give me more information other than it helps to support my claim of what order these guys go in. And then I could see that area 4 has B, but then above it, so even newer, is the fossils found in layer H, and then G, and then F, and then area 5, I can add in more layers. And so scientists, and I'm running out of space, but scientists can, like, figure out how old something is and how old they are relative to each other based on which layer of the Earth they have come in. And so they can also figure out what organisms live together and in the same area. They can figure out, they can do some carbon dating and figure out things like that about the age and what other things are around. So there's all kinds of information they can gather from looking at fossil records. And fossil records go back to 3.5 billion years ago. But one of the questions too is, where did these organic materials come from? And so years ago, these two scientists named Urey and Miller, they did this experiment where they put in early atmosphere chemicals. And it's now been proven that the chemicals that they used didn't quite match, but that's okay. Aren't really what was in early atmosphere. What at the time they put in what they thought was the early atmosphere chemicals. They added a spark to simulate lightning, and what they got was they found organic molecules. So found organic molecules, the early building blocks of life. And so there's thoughts that that's how life came to be, is that there's these different primordial soup, different chemicals that were in the atmosphere. You add a spark, an energy source, and then we can get some organic materials. And then those organic materials became other organic materials, and so on and so forth. And eventually we ended up with cells, and then we ended up with multicellular things, and then we ended up with all kinds of different organisms as we see on planet Earth. The other thought is that it could be a meteorite or other event, so it was brought in from space. Some of these organic materials were brought in from space, like, on an asteroid or a meteorite or whatever. Okay. Another part of this origin of life on Earth is that early life used DNA. Instead of DNA as its genetic material, it used RNA. So early life used RNA as genetic material. And the reason why it's thought that is because all living things have RNA, but RNA can carry the information just like DNA, but it can also, and it can be an enzyme. So it can catalyze reactions and help speed them up. And so that's why that matters. Okay, we're going to spend a little bit more time in class talking about some of these concepts as well.